Want to welcome everyone to this special called meeting of the Danville City Commission this Tuesday, November the 6th. We are at 12:01 p.m. Welcome, everyone. Item 2 on our brief agenda is resolution number 2018-11-06-01. This is the approval of deeds and closing statements for acquisition of 451 and 461 West Main Street. I would ask for a motion and a second on that, and then I would ask Madam Clerk to read both of those, please, after we get the motion and the second to do so. That said, do I hear a motion?
I'll move for approval of resolution 2018-11-06-01.
Thank you, Commissioner Terry. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Sears. We are in discussion, and I would ask at this time, Madam Clerk, if you would read those, please.
Resolution 2018-11-06-01, whereas the Board of Commissioners of the City of Danville, Kentucky previously approved by unanimous consent a resolution authorizing the acquisition of the 461 West Main Street from Sam Dexter Insurance Agency Incorporated for the sum of $257,420, and the acquisition of 451 West Main Street from Robert Finley Hendrickson, Brenda W. Hendrickson, Tim B. Dexter, Ella Mae Dexter, Mark S. Dexter, and Julie S. Dexter for the sum of $892,780. And whereas the deed, settlement statement, and other closing documents have been prepared to consummate the previously approved transaction, whereas the sellers have requested one extra day of occupancy of the property and the date of closing is beneficial to the city. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners of the City of Danville, Kentucky, that the deed of conveyance and settlement statement regarding the purchase of 461 West Main Street and 451 West Main Street are hereby approved and accepted. The amendment to the leases dated September 7th, 2018, authorizing one additional day of occupancy are approved and accepted, and the mayor and city clerk are authorized to sign same in addition to any other documents related to the transaction at the closing. This the 6th day of November 2018.
Thank you, ma'am. The resolution has now been read. Is there any discussion, questions, comments?
Yeah, could, sir, Mr. Scott, could you give us just a kind of a brief overview just for the folks here attending today? And I think that Chief Flood could help out a little bit on some of the constraints we had in looking at some of the properties we had and why this is a good fit for us.
Yes, Commissioner Series. We previously reported to the City Commission that the city staff, in a team effort, including the fire chief, our city engineer, myself, and I think other staff may have participated in parts of those discussions. We looked at, as I recall, a total of 14 properties. We viewed those in terms of primarily the ability for the fire department to provide timely service and having road access to our population density centers, and in locations that were not impeded by the potential of either high water, existing Clark's Run River, or bridges that might be out in difficult weather instances, and consistent with the ISO rating standards to provide a timely response, I believe within 3 minutes, to the majority of our population centers. We also, in that consideration, considered some other factors. We tried to come up with a suitable property that best met all of those needs within a price parameter that was affordable to the city. To that extent, for example, we looked at the Biscoe building in terms of whether that itself could be subdivided or added to have a fire station, for one example, at that location. And for a number of reasons, including its proximity to the Clark's Run, decided against that being a viable alternative. We looked also at our existing property where our former fire department actually was located on the top of Houstonsville Hill there, where our former 911 dispatch was. Same problem with that being having to cross a creek bed and a bridge which we're currently in the process of, for example, replacing because it doesn't meet weight requirements. We had those similar constraints, and we looked at other properties and ultimately concluded, and it was not our first choice, I will say that in terms of retrospect. We actually made another property, an offer on another property, but that property was not, the owners of that property were not motivated to sell at the appraised value. We had appraised values conducted for the adjacent property, and ultimately came to the conclusion that best met our city residents and city businesses' needs in positioning a fire station for the long term, meaning the next probable 50 years at that location. Throughout this process, as we've said before, our city attorney was not involved in that discussion or making any sort of evaluation or recommendation whatsoever. We had strict third-party participation by others in terms of the appraiser and by a separate law firm. Mr. Charlie Cole is here representing that firm today, for example. And so some of the properties that some of our residents wished us to consider, frankly, did not meet the size of the lot requirements, and that was the case of one that has been discussed quite a bit. So we concluded that it was in the best interest of our city and its future to locate adjacent to City Hall, and it would have also additional benefits from that proximity of location. It has drive-through entrance, for example, and not the backing entrance restriction that currently exists at the 4th and Main Street location. We tried for a long time, and you'll remember this, we tried for a long time to consider expanding our footprint at the existing site, and ultimately we were unsuccessful in having that owner be responsive to our offer made and not accepted to purchase adjacent property there. So actually we tried 2 other times before we landed on this third alternative. It is, I think, an excellent site. It has many benefits that I've mentioned. It also is probably the least disturbing to neighborhood residents at that location as compared to others that we may have looked at. So for all of those reasons, it was a unanimous decision, I think, by our fire chief, by our city engineer, and myself, that we recommend that for selection. And I hope that gives a global overview of the background. And again, we were limited in our ability, as we do with any purchase of property, to pay at the appraised value. And this was an independent appraised value of that property.
I want to thank my fellow commissioners and you, Manager Scott, for obliging me on that question. I know we already voted to be to this point, but I thought it was worthwhile to kind of go back over and summarize where we've been. And Chief Flug, did you want to add anything to this at all? Okay. Thank you all for obliging me on that.
Anyone else?
I just would like to thank the staff for their diligent research and being patient with us while we pored over maps and charts and explanations. And I think our staff is really to be commended for having the ability to consider out-of-the-box ideas. And like I said, this, like Mr. Scott said, this was not our first choice, but I think it's the best choice that kept coming to the top. I appreciate the fellow commissioners also. No one took this decision lightly. No one made a quick decision. We deliberated many hours in executive session, and I think it's a good move. And I think not only will this city be proud, I hope, but I think Mr. Sam Dexter, were he still with us, would be very proud as well.
Anyone else?
I was going to just mention some things that have already been said. You know, this was not our first choice, and as I've said before, it certainly wasn't my first choice, but there's several things I'm not an expert on, and the location of fire stations is one of many, so myself and I think all of us had to rely on the expertise of others, and it's for that reason that I'll go along with the vote today, and I appreciate the vetting they've done, and as you said, this should be a great location for the next 50 or 60 years, and one hopefully that our grandkids won't have to fool with. So, but I think that's it, and it's time to do this thing, I guess.
Any other comments?
I just like to call for the question.
Question has been called. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Seeing that this is the only item on today's agenda, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
Move that we adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. We are adjourned.
Vote.